Welcome to Procurement Says No, with me, Rich, and Ed. We're a pair of old procurement lags. We are at an age when people come up to us in the street and say, we need to get to know our prostrate. And the aim of our little podcast is to share our knowledge, because we are both CIPS procurement gods, having won at least once, maybe just once. Twice. Ed has won twice. In our procurement career. So we would like to share our love of all things procurement to newbies, oldies, and just the pro-curious. And we're called Procurement Says No because that's what people think of procurement. What do you think, Ed?
Yeah, I think they are. I think most of our stakeholders think that procurement are the function that doesn't want to allow them to do stuff, generally speaking. So yeah, I think Procurement Says No is spot on. We don't like to, in procurement, we don't want to let stakeholders talk to suppliers or do deals or put contracts in place, because we know that we're much better than them at doing that.
We are. We don't like to say that in front of them,
No.
But we're saying it behind their backs.
But in our minds, we know it, don't we?
Yes, we do. The idea of this is we're going to talk a lot of drivel. There's going to be a lot of fantastic procurement gems, and we're going to have a couple of topics. We're going to have a bit of news, and we're going to edit it down to a concise 45 to 50 seconds, probably, in the final edit. So it's not too long, because I have looked at a couple of podcasts and they went on for like 45 minutes to an hour, and it's just tedious. You can't listen to procurement people for that long. That's ridiculous. So we'll edit it down to a manageable and meaningful time, the sort of time that procurement should be given in the board.
I've just got to say, Richard, I'm feeling a bit embarrassed at this point, because it sounds like you've prepared and thought about this. And I basically just got out of bed on a bank holiday, rolled up in front of the computer, found out my computer didn't work, had to set some things up, and then had to ask you what we were going to talk about. So I'm a little bit worried now.
So we have a couple of topics. Is it called procurement? Is it called purchasing? We're going to talk about, are procurement born or are they made? Or is it just some rancid DNA? I think they're your words. And then the hoary old top table debate. How many people from procurement have made it to the top of FTSE 100, etc.? And we'll talk about strategy maybe, and we might even get to talk a bit about tech. But if we don't get to talk about those things, we can talk about those in the next episode, if there is indeed a next episode.
Perfect.
In the news, procurement startup Zip has announced a $100 million in new funding and a $1.5 billion valuation. It's a procurement startup which is San Francisco based, and it's helping businesses manage spend. They're doing wonderful things, and they've taken large market share from large incumbents in procurement space like Ariba and Cooper. And they've signed on hundreds of customers too. So well done to Zip. However, Zip is not yet profitable, and they've declined to comment on revenue. They say procurement is tricky and one of the stickiest industries, and likens switching procurement platforms to a heart transplant. We should really be saying it's easy to get onto our platform, maybe. I don't know, but I guess, yeah, is that because people, once you're in Cooper or Ariba, you've spent so much money, you don't want to get out of them again, maybe. I don't know.
I mean, it's like a heart transplant. Really? I've got to say, Richard, I mean, where does the analogy to a heart transplant come from? What, it's really difficult to change, or you need lots of drugs to keep the heart so your body doesn't reject it? So where's that analogy come from?
I don't know. Let's ask Zip. Zip, if you're listening, or somebody that knows you is listening, of the 64 people who are going to listen to this, let us know and put it into the comments below, or however these things work. I don't know.
And just by the way, Zip, our views are our own, and if you sue us, we'll go bankrupt.
Yes. Please don't. We want to be your friends. More news in Scotland have delivered their first ever procurement strategy. It's a government-wide procurement strategy in the aftermath of the COVID pandemic. And the goal of the strategy, which will run between 2023 and 2028, is to provide a high-level vision for Scottish public procurement, with all public bodies expected to sign up. So that's great. The Scottish Procurement and Property Directorate's senior change manager, who led the procurement initiative, said the challenges of COVID-19 highlighted the need to have a cohesive procurement approach, with many cliches such as working to the same hymn sheet, working with supplier partners, so they know what we're aiming at, and everybody collectively coming on the journey with us, which involves a golden thread of communicating together at all times. She said her methodology was looking to fail fast, and it's going to be flexible enough and open enough to be applicable at any stage. So that's good. Procurement in the news there. Ed, any views on public procurement?
It's good that they've come up with a strategy 50 or 60 years after public procurement started in Scotland. Good news for for all the public in Scotland. Let's digress. Let's talk about public procurement for a minute. What do we think of it? I don't think a lot of it, if I'm honest, because I think it's too bureaucratic. There's very little dialogue with suppliers. I think there's lots of writing of documents, lots of writing specifications, not a lot of consultation with the third-party supply base. So I'll give you an example of this. I went to a conference about, 6-7 years ago, and there was a presenter. They did a great job. And they were talking about the fact that they'd created a specification for a fire engine.
Oh.
So they come up with this specification for a fire engine. And everybody applauded. Everybody was dead excited because this young lady, clearly, on her way up in procurement, talked very eloquently, told us that she had spent the last 2 years, her and team, creating a specification so they could go out to tender for new fire engines. I won't say where, because obviously I don't want to embarrass her, but it was in England and it was near the capital. And she'd received EU funding for this specification writing for a fire engine.
That's good.
So you cast your mind back, Richard, both you and I have spent most of our time in the private sector. When did you ever get 2 years to write a specification? And did you ever get EU funding for it? I suspect the answer to both of those is no, that never happened. The question in my mind was, why would you write a specification for a fire engine?
All you need to do is send out several copies of Fireman Sam DVDs, or indeed add a link to the Fireman Sam episodes. That will tell you everything you need.
I want one of them.
Yeah, we want one of them.
Yes, exactly. So I really didn't understand why she didn't do that. I would have thought DVD, or it was an online. I sent them an online link to a Fireman Sam video and say, can I have a couple of them, please?
However, what you got was an 8-inch model of a Fireman Sam non-working. And now these are out parading around central London, and there's a lot of fires going on. So it's like 1666 all over again.
Exactly, in Pudding Lane. So I think just going back to on the serious point in the public sector, I think that lots of documents, lots of all probity, got to be careful, can't upset anybody, must look like everything's 100% clean and transparent to the public and suppliers and so forth, and must give everybody a chance. But at the end of the day, the fire engine example, don't you just go to the fire engine suppliers and say, I need it to be able to do this. This is the outcome I'm looking for. Tell me how I do it. And you're a fire engine manufacturer, you know what their good looks like. What should I have? But instead we spend 2 years, spend hundreds of thousands of EU money at that point to come up with a very large specification. Seems a bit overly bureaucratic, takes too long, and no doubt drives cost into the process. So that's what I think of the public sector.
Answers below. Any comments on that from anybody in the public sector? Yes, let us know what you think. Ed has a very strong view there.
I imagine I'll never work in the public sector again. I don't have long left. And you mentioned prostrate at the start. So I'm thinking, well, okay, I'll take it.
So let's talk about is it procurement or is it purchasing?
I did prepare for this.
Good.
Briefly. And I thought, you say tomato and I say tomato.
Tomato. Let's call the whole thing off.
So, and potato and potato. And no doubt other things. I think it's nonsense. Why don't we just call it soliciting?
Well, indeed. I looked this one up on the interweb, and Fraxion.biz, a guy from Fraxion has given the definition where he says there is a difference between procurement and purchasing. Purchasing is transaction and procurement is strategic.
No, it's not.
What's strategic sourcing? Oh, that must be strategic. And then there's non-strategic sourcing, which is just sourcing, I guess.
Which is not strategic.
No.
Procurement, purchasing, solicitation, buying, they're all the same thing, aren't they? They're just like whatever you want it to be in your own mind. So it's like...
Buying.
I've had debates with people about this, albeit a long time ago, about what purchasing and procurement is. I think it's just nonsense. That's my view. It's nonsense, Richard. It's like in the defence sector, they use the word materiel and they spell it differently, don't they, to talk about the procurement and the supply chain. It's like, why? Why do you use a different word? Is that to make it sound more sophisticated?
It is. Well, procurement clearly is more sophisticated than purchasing because it's strategic. So if somebody from who did I say? Fraxianbiz.biz is listening to this and they still exist, let us know. They say procurement is a bit like category management and a bit of strategic sourcing, whereas purchasing is like transactional P2B.
Only if you think it is.
But only if you think about it, yes.
So what's the difference between strategic sourcing and category management then?
Oh,
not go there.
Ed, come on. Category management is like strategic squared. It's more strategic. It's one more. It's strategic up to 11. That's what category management is. It's strategic sourcing to 11. Nigel Tufnell. Yeah, I had a guy who worked for me once in a large FTSE 100 FMCG company, which will not be named. He thought that procurement was solicitation. And that solicitation was largely illegal. Certainly in certain parts of Birmingham where this company was. He had to resign, I think, following... So I think we've solved that particular problem then. I think we've solved whether it's procurement or purchasing.
Or solicitation or buying.
And we basically don't care. Is that the answer?
I think we don't care. I think it just depends what it means to you and your organisation, doesn't it, really?
Or whether you're just pro-curious.
Yeah, exactly. So it's one of those nonsensical discussions, I think.
Our next topic of conversation, Eduardo, is... Are procurement born or are they made?
I like to think of Terminator. They're created in a robotic lab.
Right.
You think?
Near Wuhan.
Yeah.
That sounds ideal. There's a guy called Steve Martin who's written in the Harvard Business Review many, many years ago. It's not Steve Martin, Dr. Hertha, I don't think. And he was talking about salespeople, actually, rather than procurement. He did much undisclosed research. And he estimated that 70% of top sales people are born with natural instincts that play a critical role in determining their sales success. Conversely, less than 30% of top salespeople are self-made, meaning they've had to learn. So there you go. And then he said, for every 100 salespeople without national sales traits, 40% will fail. 40% will perform near average and only 20% will perform above average. Do you think the same might be true for procurement? Do you think 70% of procurement people have got special skills, or did we just pull that statistic out of a hat?
I think a bit of both, Richard. There's certain character... I was going to say traits, and then I thought character flaws that help being a procurement person. People who are quite thick-skinned and confident, but also are possibly slightly introverted. Introverts don't need other people's affirmation. They don't need other people to confirm them as people. Think of procurement people. They have to be quite tough, don't they? They have to do deals. They have to upset suppliers, all that sort of stuff. So I think that there's certain character traits that are inherent in really good procurement people. They don't need others. They don't need the praise of others. They're thick-skinned, confident, etc. And then they've got some other skills, just general skills like they're numerical and all that sort of stuff.
And they're usually strangely attractive as well, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. Very good looking. Yeah. It's probably a bit like the salespeople, probably. I don't know whether he made his thing up. Did he just come up with that 70% thing? I mean,
undisclosed research.
Is that like he was down the pub and he spoke to some friends? Or is that like I did a massive data survey of 10,000 salespeople?
Undisclosed research, whatever that means.
I don't know about you, but when I started in procurement wasn't really a career to go into. I just fell into it by accident.
That was buying as well then. It wasn't even purchasing.
No, I worked for a chief buyer.
Chief buyer, yeah.
So I think I went on a graduate scheme and sort of fell into it. I just knew I wanted to do some sort of management discipline. You must have had the same, surely.
I wanted to be a chief buyer of material.
Material. Oh. And in what? In purchasing?
Well, in buying.
In buying.
That was always my dream job.
Business card, rich buyer.
It was either that Formula One or being a fireman. But we could never get the kit because the spec was wrong.
No, I'm not surprised. Well, it took so long for the spec, didn't it, to get out there? I've got to say, I think on your 70-30 rule, I think 70% of people fall into procurement by accident.
I think you're probably right. I think many people say that, don't they? Many.
Yeah, and I didn't do a survey at all to come up with that finding. I didn't need to go out and do a massive set or meet my friends down the pub. I just made that one up.
You just pulled that out of your arse, didn't you?
Yes, I did. Straight out, yeah.
If Jeffrey Beer is listening, he invented the Puma Institute, and it's worked very well for many, many benchmarking companies for many years.
So Puma is a big cat, isn't it? So mine is the Cheetah Institute. I think we should adopt that, Rich. You know, the Cheetah Research Corporation.
Cheetah Research.
And we can use that on future podcasts, assuming there is a future podcast. We could use that and we could just make anything up we like.
Well, we've already done several minutes of that, so we're well on our way. Should procurement be at the top table? Many people say procurement should have a place on the board. Procurement should be on the board. It's important. It's spending all this money.
Why, oh, why, oh, why, oh.
Some people say it's a back office function and should be kept away from the board.
I think they're probably right. Doesn't everybody think they should be on the board? So, you're working in, I don't know, IT, and you think, yeah, we should be on. We're really important. We're in IT. We're massively important. It's our network that keeps emails going and video conferencing and all that stuff, and it maybe even keeps customers satisfied. Oh, I'm in sales. I'm really important because I sell stuff.
If it's important, strategic, helps the company run, then there's one area that doesn't work, does it? Well, there's probably two, actually. Procurement's one, but HR, I mean, that shouldn't be on the board, surely.
There's 20% of our listener base gone.
We're willing for them to argue their case, to get back to their rightful position on the board.
For most businesses, they're run by accountants and lawyers, and that's why procurement aren't there.
Same seems to go for countries.
Yes, it does. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it is, isn't it, generally? Or investment bankers.
Is that a euphemism?
Well, it could be, but I think Rishi Sunak is an investment banker, isn't he? I think that's his background. There's only a little bit of room at the top, and it's only the room is really only there for accountants and lawyers generally. And when you think about all the companies that you work for, Rich, who's run them? What's their background? Nearly every company I've worked for has been run typically by an accountant.
Lawyers or accountants. You're right.
The question should be, is procurement listened to, and is procurement adding value to the business? That's the question, not whether you're sitting at the board table or on the executive committee.
So the answers to all the questions so far today have been, it's all nonsense.
Yeah, it's nonsense. Absolute nonsense. I don't think procurement people have the background, financially or legally. Perhaps procurement's view of the world is not wide enough. People who get to the very top have to have a sort of much broader vision of the business, not just financially and legally, but just in terms of what's best for the organisation. People in functional roles are too protective of their functional role, whereas for some reason, finance people, legal people don't tend to be like that in terms of the protectionism or their viewpoint of the business. Maybe people who get to the top are a bit more cooler, reptilian in their vision, and perhaps procurement people, just like salespeople, are not sufficiently like that, not hard enough.
So there's a statistic, our first statistic from the Cheetah Research Institute. 70% of people who lead FTSE 100 companies are actually reptilian. That is our first data point from the Cheetah Research Institute.
When they're in meetings, you can always recognise them because their tongue just pops out every now and then.
Absolutely, yeah. I think we're onto something here.
Perhaps we should do some real research.
I think if there are people who listen to this and are researchy types,
yeah,
give us some research about this stuff. That'd be good.
I think as long as at least 5, yeah.
And that would actually be statistically relevant, wouldn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, what do you think about procurement folk then? Do you think they're the top table? Do you think procurement people should be there?
Oh, no.
No, just no.
No, don't be ridiculous. I think if it's a broader brief, like a broader supply chain operational, the whole of the product supply chain, maybe, that would make a bit of sense because they are the part of the organisation in terms of its delivery of goods and services. So an operations director or something like that, yeah, that makes sense. But
there aren't many of them, rather.
I guess a procurement person could become that person and then could go get to the top. It's a long way to the top. As was it Bon Scott who said that?
Yeah, if you want to rock and roll. Perhaps that's the issue. That's why procurement people don't get to the top, because they think like that.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. Procurement people could get to the top, but not wearing their procurement hats.
No, or trousers. I like procurement trousers.
They have to take their procurement hats off, they have to take their procurement trousers off, and they have to put their lawyer hat on and their financial underwear. I think that's probably the way to go.
Yeah, perhaps we should have a look at that. There must be research on people who get to top, because even you think about it in procurement, and we were talking about this before, weren't we? Doing a little bit of research for a couple of moments. The only person we could think of really who's got to the top in procurement is Tim Cook at Apple. He worked in a procurement role. But if you do a bit of a search on the internet to see who's got to the top, nobody really appears. I think there was a guy at VW who ran Volkswagen, who was ex-procurement. I can't remember his name, but
there is actually in Volkswagen, there is the group board member for procurement.
Oh,
look at that.
There we go.
So there you are.
We've got 2.5 now. 2.5 out of the global population of CEOs.
So well done to Volkswagen. Excellent.
Yes.
Talk to me about procurement strategy. Was it procurement strategy?
So this links to the top table bit, doesn't it? About the ways of thinking. So not that all businesses have strategies. They should do, I suspect, but they don't. You know, in my working career in consultancy and line procurement stuff, I've talked to lots and lots of procurement people. And I've asked lots of them if they have a strategy. And then I've asked them how, when they do have it, which is very rare, asked them how it links to the corporate strategy.
And what did they say?
And generally it doesn't. You've got the business saying we're driving in this direction, the ship's heading off to wherever, it's going east. But their strategy, if they have a strategy, and as I say, most of the time they don't have a strategy, they don't have a strategy that reflects the business direction. So their strategy is going north, not east. I think that's probably a bit of an Achilles heel for procurement. The procurement function doesn't seem to have a need or an urgency to put in place something that says, this is what we're all about, this is the direction.
It's a following function, isn't it, from that perspective? I guess there's been a slight change with post-COVID and post all the shit that's been going down for the last 2 or 3 years with COVID and various supply issues and microprocessor shortages and demand and capacity all falling over, which has led to people being more interested in supply chains and procurement. But it's backward looking, I guess, isn't it? And it's saying we need to be ready for it if this happens again. It's more of a risk strategy than a sort of a business strategy, isn't it? It's just, what if this happens again? We need to have something in place. It's not leading the way, is it? It's clearing up the mess and making sure the mess doesn't happen again.
Every year, various consultancies put a survey out, and I think it was Deloitte that do an annual procurement survey, and they talk about what the leadership of businesses want from procurement, what the direction of travel is. It always seems to be lower cost stuff that's purchased, lower cost of the function, i.e. less resource, more automation, all that sort of stuff, and then something about risk, managing risk. But typically the two cost ones are 1 and 2, and they just sort of move around, and then the third one is risk. But if you go and talk to procurement people about what they're doing, they don't seem to always recognise that or reflect that in if they do have their own strategy. So, and if you talk to the team members, it's all like, oh yeah, I want to be really environmentally friendly, or I want to do this or do that, something else. It never seems to sort of link back to how do I make sure that all of what I'm buying is as good as it gets, and the function is as cheap as possible.
If there was a top 10, the top 3 will always be cost, risk, etc. Down at the bottom end will be social value, innovation. People will talk about, oh yes, we want innovation from our supply chain, but actually we want the lowest possible cost.
And I think that for a procurement function, probably like all other functions, sometimes they sort of pursue their own goals, which are personal to perhaps the leader or the leadership team, that are not necessarily aligned to what the business is demanding of them, on a serious note. And
I was just going to say, this has all become very serious.
No, sorry. So we'll have to lighten it up. But I think that a bit of the thing for procurement is that, and the procurement function, or the purchasing function, or the buying function, or the solicitation function, is they need to be aligned to what the business wants, don't they? And they're not, generally, I think. And I'm sure that people will answer that and say I'm talking utter nonsense, but out of my bottom, as you said earlier. But I'm not convinced, really. I think when I was in consultancy and I talked to procurement leaders and their teams, and I say, well, you know, what are you about? It would be like, oh, it's all about I've got to get the orders out quickly, or I've got to put these fires out, or whatever. It wasn't aligned to what the business wanted, which was lower cost with no risk.
I've got to get these invoices paid by Friday.
Yeah. And maybe that's the heart of the problem.
That, ladies and gentlemen, is why procurement is not at the top table.
No, and why procurement is seen as saying no.
What a great way to end our first podcast. Let's see if anybody listens to this, and if they do, then we might do another one.
Yeah.
If you've got any topics that you'd like us to talk about, then put them in the comments below, or whatever you do.
March of the Machines is the next episode.
Episode 2, March of the Machines, where you get your podcasts. We'll see you all again next time.
Super. Perhaps there's a podcast on self-realization. Just like, I think when you go to conferences, it's the same though, isn't it? Somebody presents at a conference. I just wondered to myself, sometimes what you were thinking when you put this together, you thought we might be interested in this drivel. We've all heard it before, you know, and you wind on and on and on about your company, and you don't really tell us any substance. It's like the vendors, tech vendors, isn't it? They stand there and they go, oh yeah, fantastic, oh super, love it. And you think, and just like full of dogmatic crap, aren't you?